tell you how excited I am about this series that we're in. Every time I study it, my mind just gets blown because there's new things that I'm learning every single day. And I hope that I'm able to effectively communicate those things that I'm learning because it is amazing. I mean, I can't even believe it sometimes. We just want to give you a few quick things. We are still doing loose change to change lives, so save your spare change, put them in a mason jar, and we'll collect them at the end of February. February is our giving month, and we'll give them to another ministry, nonprofit organization. If you want to sponsor Claudia from Bolivia, it's her birthday this month, so I've already sent out a card for her and a letter from us. I also gave her a gift, $20 from Allure. She is going to love it. I think she's turning 8 years old, and so $20 to an 8-year-old is awesome in America. $20 to an 8-year-old in South America is even better. So you can give directly online at our website, right here. Just go there. There we go. Just go there. You can give straight to Claudia at Compassion, and you're helping change her world. So just remember that every time you give. So let's get into it. I'm going to tell you guys a story today. And in this story, I'm going to have 7 keys about faith. And the story is about Abram. Before he was Abraham, before he had Isaac. One of my best friends in Georgia, she gave me this idea, and it's a twist. When you hear about Abram and Abraham, you automatically think sacrificing Isaac and how much faith he had to sacrifice Isaac, which is true. But we're going to look before that and how his faith was built before he even had Isaac, because there took a lot of faith in that time of waiting before Isaac was even born. Abraham already had faith, a lot of faith in God, to trust that God was going to save his son or provide him a son or whatever when he went to sacrifice Isaac. So we're going to talk about his faith leading up to having Isaac, all right? Abram is a ancestor of Noah. Noah had Shem, and then Shem had 5 or 6 or so generations before he came to Abram. And Abram's dad was Terah. And Abram's dad and Shem and all these people in between lived hundreds of years. And some of them didn't have kids until they were 100 years old, 90 years old. So Abram had a lineage of people having children at old ages. The first one is, what builds your faith? Abram knew his lineage. He knew how old everybody was when they had kids and then when they died. So he knew that there was long life in his family, in his bloodline. So who do you know that you are? From your past, who can you tell that you are that God wants to bring you into your future with? So for me, I want to believe, through my past, I know that I'm an overcomer. I am victorious. I am blessed. I am a child of God. So all these things I know from my past experiences, and it's going to help me get to my future experiences. It's my faith being built up from my past. Now, as you know, Abram was very old himself. His wife Sarai was old as well. She was way past childbearing. In fact, she was probably post-menopausal. She had mood swings. She had hot flashes. No wonder why Abram went to Hagar, her maidservant, who was premenopausal, much younger, who can have kids. He went to her because he's like, oh my gosh, my wife is going crazy. Just kidding. So we pick up with Abram in chapter 11 with his genealogy, and then in chapter 12 it talks about him going with his father and his nephew Lot and his wife moving to Haran. And the Lord told him in chapter 12, go to the place I will show you. Leave your family, leave your friends, leave your father and his household, and go to the place I will show you. So Abram did just that. He picked up everything. He took his wife. He took Lot with him, and they went to the land of Canaan. The second thing is, our faith moves us out of our comfort zone to do something extraordinary in our lives. Can you imagine if Abram didn't go with his father or leave when God told him to leave? He wouldn't have experienced everything that he experienced. He wouldn't be the father of many nations. He wouldn't have descendants as much as the stars and of the sand. So when you move out of your comfort zone, you experience extraordinary things. We have to move with God in faith that it will come true. By stepping into the mysterious, that's sometimes the only way we will experience what God has for us in the unknown. And as they're going to the land of Canaan, there's 4 kings on this side and 4 kings on this side, and they all are having a battle. And when this battle is happening, Lot gets taken captive. And in this, Abram, well, first, sorry, let me back up real quick. God tells Abram, all this land I will give you. You will be a blessing to people. I will curse those who curse you. I will bless those who bless you. And your offspring is going to rule all of this land. So already God is telling Abram, he's putting the idea in his head that he's going to have children. Now, Abram's already 75 years old and he still has no kids. That's really old. Lot he becomes a captive to these 4 kings. And Abram, knowing what God said, trusting God, knowing that this land is already his and his inheritance and his children's inheritance, he goes in and he makes a plan and he rescues Lot. The next thing is, when he rescued Lot, he was taking back what was already his without any reservations. He knew what God told him and he believed what God told him about the land. So he was going in there and taking what was his. Faith gives you authority over the enemy. Within your faith contains an innumerable measure of good belongings from God to you. He wants you to have a lot of stuff. The sand on the shores, the stars in the sky, that's how much he wanted to give Abram. And then in chapter 15, Abram is talking to God again, and God's like, I'm going to bless you, and you're going to have descendants, and your children are going to reign. And Abram is like, but God, I don't have any kids yet. And so Sarai tells him to go sleep with Hagar and have kids. Now you have to understand that when he did that, Hagar and Ishmael, who was his son, they were not blessed. They were under the curse because that's not what God wanted. So Abram made a huge mistake by listening to his wife to go sleep with another woman. So he has Ishmael. Ishmael is not the blessed, promised child that God told Abram he would have. So Abram, knowing this, goes to God. He says, I still don't have kids. What's happening? And there's a 29-year span in between Ishmael and Isaac. And God says, I promise you, you will have kids by this time next year. You will have kids. So we see that so here's God's will, and this is what God wants us to do when we obey. But when we decide to take matters into our own hands, we come out of God's will because we're not trusting God. We're not having faith that He's going to come through to us. When you doubt God, you jump the gun. Sometimes we try to make things happen in our own time. Abram did this with Hagar. He tried to make things happen in his own timing because he wasn't waiting on God. He wasn't patient. He wasn't believing what God told him before. He knew that his ancestors had long life. He knew that God had promised him offspring. He knew that his children were going to be owners of this land, but instead of waiting on God's timing, he jumped the gun and he tried to make things happen in his own timing, and that brought him out of the will of God, and that brought a curse. So after we've made a mistake, Abram repented and he asked God, I trust you now. I don't see how it's going to happen, but I'm trusting in you. I'm putting my faith in you. And then he asked for Ishmael to be blessed. So he is out of God's will when he has Ishmael with Hagar. And then he asked God for forgiveness and he's repentant. So now he's aligning himself back with God's will. God is a God of redemption. So he redeems Ishmael, and now Ishmael is going to be blessed, and he's going to be the father of the 12 tribes. Woo! That's a lot of information. You need to come to Bible study because you get all this in person. Faith allows God to be beside you during your failures and your feats, your sorrows and your successes, and your rise and your retreats. When you have faith, it doesn't matter what you're going through, whether it's good or bad, faith is always going to be there. God is always going to be there. And it's up to us to receive that. It's up to us to accept that. It's up to us to have faith in God that He is actually going to take care of everything that we need. So that was Abram's life in a short, very, very short, leading up to Isaac. We saw that all of these things, God was faithful through enemies, through children, through moving to a place He didn't know, through His ancestors. God was faithful. God continues to be faithful. It's up to us to have faith in God and His faithfulness. So I hope you like this short. Next week is going to be awesome. I was studying it today and it blew my mind. I was like, oh Lord. And it was so good I stopped studying and I came home because it was that good. But anyway, you can subscribe to us on YouTube at The Allure Shorts. You can like us on Facebook at Allure Women's Movement. You can see anything we're doing online at our website, www.allurewm.com, and you can tweet with us on Twitter, AllureWM. The notes are attached at the bottom of this video, down there. Alright, but until then, y'all are awesome. I am believing for good things. I am believing for God things. I'm so excited what God is going to do in your life, in my life, in our lives as a whole. It's going to be great. Keep the faith up. Just faith. Just study that word faith. And join us next week when we study more about faith. All right. Bye.